Hey, what's up guys? Everything Apple Pro here. Exciting times. You know leak season has begun when you just can't keep up with the torrent of leaks coming out. In the last video, we've learned what the iPhone 12 Pro chassis would look like. In this video, we now have an accurate depiction of the notch, how big it'll be, the orientation of the sensors inside, and the bezel on the screen. Let's just say things are looking good and will look even better in matte black one day. Okay, so I'm running an iPhone SE giveaway. Links down below in the description if you want to win one of those, one of each color. And let's start with Jon Prosser's exclusive look at the notch. So in today's front page tech episode, Jon Prosser has given us an exclusive look at the front of the iPhone 12 with these leaked schematics. They look legit. In fact, even the way the callouts, the information is displayed looks very Apple-like, high-tech. But we now have an accurate depiction of the notch, the sensor layout inside, and the bezels. It looks amazing. In our concept, we were a little eager on the bezels, so those will not be quite as thin, but still super sleek. We were about 0.3 millimeters off here. So Apple will be shrinking the bezels by about 0.5 to 0.6 millimeters. So on first appearance, it looks a little underwhelming, not quite what you'd expect after 3 years of development. In fact, none of the sensors seemingly even have shrunk. Misc earlier predicted that Apple would be shrinking the camera unit in order to make Face ID more compact, but seemingly all they've done here is move the earpiece upwards and combine it with a microphone. Still, it's okay. It is an improvement. It's smaller, more compact, but it's not any shorter. It's just as tall, just not as wide. I had a question earlier today. Isn't this something Apple could have done within the last 3 years or even since the beginning with the iPhone 10? Technically true, but in our next exclusives video with Max Weinbach, you'll learn that Face ID is improving in more ways than just size, and it's possible that some of the components have been improved in ways that you cannot explain just by looking at the physical sensors. And thank you to Concept Creator for helping us model that sensor. Your work is legendary. So back in December of 2019, Mac Takara shared this video hands-on with the iPhone 12 Pro prototypes. Apparently these CADs were almost identical to the ones I shared with you just a few days ago, or the one of the 6.7 inch. That one had a smaller smart connector, but pretty much the same CADs here. And I mention this because Prosser says the smart connector seen in these CADs will not be happening on this year's iPhones. His sources do not see them on current prototypes, and that may be because Apple is pushing it back to the release of the 2021 iPhone because that iPhone is rumored to not have a port. Coincidentally, these things would be released at the same time because it would solve a problem. For as cool as a truly wireless iPhone sounds in 2021, how are you going to charge it while holding it? No, we're not getting wireless charging over the air or anything ridiculous like that. No, the batteries are not getting good enough to warrant that. Apple is likely to use that smart connector seen in the prototypes for wireless charging, using a little dongle, possibly a version that's similar to the Apple Pencil, how it magnetically snaps on, and you'd be able to continue using the iPhone while charging without having to have it on a mat. Problem solved. Prosser also mentions that smart connector, no, it is not getting used for a mini Apple Pencil. Completely out of the question. Oh, and if Apple were to use a solution like this, it answers the question on whether or not they would include a wireless charger in the box with future iPhones. With something like this, it would be cheaper and there would be no need. So sadly, that smart connector wouldn't be getting used this year, but Apple is working on 2 separate wireless chargers, according to Fudge, one being AirPower, the C68 prototype, and one being a small wireless charger, C26. So that's the one we heard about earlier from Misc a few months back. Yes, it is happening. We don't know if it's slated for release this year or the next. Remember, AirPower was canceled, so Apple is likely not rushing this project. And a couple more details about AirPower from Prosser. The prototype being tested by engineers at home had the lightning cable on the right side, and the Apple A11 chip inside has 2 cores disabled. So it's slightly nerfed, but AirPower still has a fully fledged processor inside. And stating the obvious, Prosser mentions, no, we will never see a USB-C iPhone. Apple is leveling up to a wireless future in 2021 and beyond, which is why AirPower and this smart connector are such a big deal on the iPhone. And regarding the iPhone SE Plus, so the 5.5-inch version, the replacement to the iPhone 8 Plus, it's still happening, but delayed to March of 2021. When it does arrive, it'll come with an Apple A13, so the same internals as the current iPhone SE. And moving on to iPhone 12 leaks. First off, I wanted to reiterate, we still don't know what's happening with the lenses. There are many potential looks that Apple could go for. Weinbach mentioned that Apple was testing the LiDAR on the right side, bottom, and on the top, so we added those in there. We don't know how the glass will look surrounding the lenses. Will it be clear like on the 11 Pro, or will it be black to better blend in with the LiDAR sensor? I'm curious what you guys think Apple will go with. Leave a comment down below. Personally, I really like the look with the LiDAR sensor having a ring, which it should for aesthetic reasons. The fact that the lenses don't protrude as much and that the lens is bigger gives it this very impressive look, and in matte black, just so much better. That needs to happen. By the way, what do you guys think of our Gen 2 case? I personally think it'll be the best combination of protection, yet sleek looks, and letting you enjoy the cold steel of your iPhone that everyone should be able to feel. Let me know what improvements you'd like to see. Now, there's been a huge report by Mark Gurman detailing the iPhone 12 lineup and a number of other products coming this year. Let's start with AirTags. So he describes the design as puck-shaped. A puck shape would nicely house the CR2032 battery nestled inside. And by the way, these will be wirelessly rechargeable. They do have a very compact system-in-package chip inside, so these are going to have quite the capability. And Gurman mentions these will have an Apple-designed leather sleeve, so you can clip them onto things. I assume there will be a sticky version. And Gurman mentions Apple is working on a slew of new products, including a MacBook Pro refresh, Apple TV, budget iPads, and new iMacs. Gurman did also report on the 2020 iPhone lineup, saying they will be 5G capable. There will be at least 2 models with flat sides, which of course would be the Pro models if the non-Pro models were to be rounded. He says the design is reminiscent of the iPhone 5, and the glass is now 2D glass, so completely smooth, as we predicted in our CAD leak. He confirms that the Pro models will have 3 lenses and a LiDAR sensor. The non-Pro models will keep their current camera setups. At least some of the iPhones will be delayed, which we've heard will be the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the 6.7-inch, launching later in October, thanks to delays. He says the design still has not been finalized, so we still may see some changes in future CADs, as Prosser earlier warned today. Gurman also confirms the 6.7-inch will have a larger display than the current 11 Pro Max, that Apple is working on a version without a notch altogether, and this year's lineup is likely to support that smaller notch, which today has been revealed by Prosser. He also mentions that the Apple A14 will be more dedicated towards artificial intelligence and augmented reality tasks, that there will be a portion of the Apple A14 specifically dedicated to these tasks. And Gurman mentions the iPhone 12 is currently being designed at engineers' homes, as they're not able to congregate or travel to China to finish prototyping. He also emphasizes that plans may yet change due to the nature of the outbreak. In other news, Barclays believes Apple will be launching the 5G iPhone in 2 waves. One in 2020 with sub 6 GHz capable 5G, then in 2021 millimeter wave capable 5G, which is the faster version of 5G. It seems unrealistic for Apple to fragment their lineup like that. This is because of their in-house antenna solution, which they had to design after being unhappy with Qualcomm's version. The chassis we saw had much wider antenna bands, 1.88 millimeters versus the standard 1, and I highly doubt it'll happen, but apparently is a possibility. Also, Mark Gurman reports that Apple is working on a smaller version of the HomePod, about half the size of the current HomePod, while keeping its existing design. It'll also be cheaper, which will be its main selling point. Max Weinbach and I reported on this a number of months ago, and now it's being corroborated by Mark Gurman. Gurman also mentions that the new HomePods will have marked Siri improvements and music streaming improvements, so I'm sure a number of other options you can stream from. And this is convenient timing, as 9to5Mac has just published a report saying starting in 13.4, the HomePod is now running a version of tvOS, and there are a number of reasons why they're doing this. Basically, the HomePod is more similar to the Apple TV than it is to an iPhone, so for power management, for future product releases, and likely because there will be a hardware release, Apple has updated it to the tvOS side of software. 9to5Mac also mentions the upcoming Apple TV will be sporting an Apple A14, and oh my gosh, the bird is back. That guy randomly comes out of nowhere. Yesterday, after 2 years not coming around, my old friend came and said hello, so that was pretty cool. Anyways, Apple is rethinking HomePod, and hopefully it'll make a comeback, because as it is right now, it's a misunderstood product. It doesn't really have a good reason to exist when comparing it to the competitors. Siri is still broken on it. It's okay for music, but I think Apple could do so much better. Also, another nugget about car key, nothing really important, but it's a feature I'm quite excited about, especially after learning that it might one day be coming to Tesla here relatively soon. Steve Moser shared that in 13.4.5 beta 2, iOS will now forcibly sign you out of all of your car keys when signing out of iCloud, much like it dumps all of the cards from Wallet when doing the same thing. All right, guys, that's the latest. Stay tuned for our exclusive leaks with Max Weinbach Part 3. Peace.